For more than half a century, no human being traveled out to the moon. The Apollo era ended, the footprints remained, and deep space crewed exploration became part of history. Then, in April 2026, Artemis II changed that. 4 astronauts climbed aboard Orion, launched on NASA's Space Launch System, and became the first humans in over 50 years to fly around the moon and return. But Artemis II was never meant to be just a symbolic mission. It was a full-scale test of the spacecraft, the rocket, the trajectory, and the people who will help carry the Artemis program forward. To understand why this flight mattered, you have to see it not as a replay of Apollo, but as the opening move of a new era. Artemis II launched from Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex, 39B, at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on April 1st, 2026. Inside Orion were NASA astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, joined by Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Together, they formed the first crewed mission of the Artemis program and the first human flight test of NASA's SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft around the moon. Unlike Artemis I, which flew without a crew, Artemis II had to prove that the entire system could safely support people in deep space. Through launch, through navigation beyond Earth orbit, around the moon, and all the way back through re-entry and splashdown. The mission profile itself was designed to test more than distance. After launch, Orion completed 2 orbits of Earth before heading out on a figure-8 trajectory toward the moon. This path allowed mission controllers and the crew to verify key systems early, while still close enough to Earth to manage issues before committing to translunar flight. From there, Orion pushed outward into deep space, eventually passing around the moon before curving back home. NASA described Artemis II as an approximately 10-day mission, but in narrative terms, it was really a demonstration of confidence. Confidence in the guidance system, in communications, in life support, in propulsion, and in the ability of astronauts to operate beyond low Earth orbit for the first time in generations. That made Artemis II fundamentally different from Apollo missions people often compare it to. Apollo was built in the compressed urgency of the Cold War, aimed at landing on the moon as fast as possible. Artemis is being built as a longer campaign: fly, test, learn, refine, return, and then keep going. Artemis II did not attempt a landing. Its role was to validate the human-rated architecture that future crews will depend on. Orion had to function as a deep space habitat and command vehicle. SLS had to perform as the heavy lift backbone of the mission. Recovery teams had to prove they could bring the crew home safely. In other words, Artemis II was not about planting a flag. It was about proving the path back works. The human dimension mattered just as much. Reed Wiseman served as commander, Victor Glover as pilot, Christina Koch as mission specialist, and Jeremy Hansen as mission specialist, representing Canada. Their flight carried a weight beyond engineering. Glover became the first black astronaut to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Koch became part of the first woman-crewed mission to the moon under Artemis-era planning. Hansen became the first Canadian to fly to the moon. Artemis II was, in that sense, both a test flight and a statement. The next age of lunar exploration would not simply repeat the past. It would widen who gets to go and who exploration is seen to belong to. As Orion approached the moon, Artemis II entered the phase that made the mission historic in the eyes of the world. During the flyby, the crew traveled farther from Earth than any humans in history, surpassing the record previously set by Apollo 13. NASA said Orion reached a maximum distance of about 252,756 miles from Earth, and at closest approach, the spacecraft passed roughly 4,067 miles above the lunar surface. These numbers mattered, but the images mattered more. The Moon, the Earth, and the Orion spacecraft were seen together in ways no human mission had shown in half a century. Artemis II was no longer a plan on paper. It had become a real human journey through cislunar space. Yet the most important achievements of Artemis II were not only visual or symbolic. The mission tested how Orion's systems performed with people on board in deep space. Life support, navigation, communications, radiation monitoring, onboard operations, crew procedures, and mission timing all had to work together under real conditions. This is exactly why Artemis II was flown before any attempt at a lunar landing. A crewed lunar campaign cannot rely on assumptions. It needs flight-tested systems, real operational experience, and evidence gathered the hard way, by flying the mission and learning from it. Artemis II served as that bridge between an uncrewed demonstration and the far more demanding missions that follow.